Islam Moors, peace and love to all Moors worldwide. Here we are for another class, Canaanland Moors class, every Tuesday on Ustream, Canaanland Moors channel. We just want to give up to all the dirty Moors out there who's trying some stuff to try to, get people to swerve through the guardrail off the cliff. Islam to all the Moors with their eyes wide open, seeing and knowing. All the Moors who study, like Noble Drew Ali told you to do, even though man knows not by being told, but you gotta listen to some stuff, right? Islam to all the dirty Moors who are just after dirty Moors. That's all. We just at dirty Moors. Because it's over for all those guys. Time's up. Like OC said. Time's up. Today's class, we want to put something on the record that we forgot to put on the record when we were dealing with Sheikh Wrong Way L. What we wanted to bring up that I forgot to bring up, with regard to driver's license, and you need a license to drive. Anybody who has a so-called license, right? Anybody who has a license, think back to when you went to take your driving test. Think back to your driving test. Did you have a license when you took your driving test? So hold on a second. Everybody needs a license, right? But when you took your driving test, the driving test was to see if you could get a license. But if you need a license to drive, shouldn't you have the driver's license before you take the driving test? Or they gave you a permit. Oh, permit. Permit means permission. But that's not a license. So, you've been exercising right to travel before you even had a license. And the state even allowed it once you had a permit. They even put a guy next to you just to make sure that, you can right to travel properly before you sell your right to travel to those people to go get a license. Dirty Moors. So, sis in Savannah, Georgia, sent me some pictures, and we just wanted to put these on the record. Now, the shrine is called Ali. Shrine is called Ali. Okay, so they have Sheba Shrine, so we know who that's for. They have Morocco Shrine. They have Alhambra Shrine. They have all these different shrines all over the place. And now we're getting told that they have a Ali Shriners Shrine. And then in order to hide the message, they spelled Ali with two E's. Now, I don't know any other Ali other than Muhammad Ali and Noble Drew Ali. And I'm pretty sure that they're not making a shrine for Muhammad Ali. But, people are going to say nobody recognized the Prophet or whatever. People are going to be talking about, Noble Drew Ali this and Noble Drew Ali that. His stuff's outdated. But, the Shriners in Savannah, Georgia, they have an Ali shrine. And, we ask the question, what Ali are they talking about? We say, okay, we know what Alhambra is. We know Morocco. We know Sheba. We know Prince Hall. We know all these other things that they name shrines after. But they call their shrine Ali, but spell it A-L-E-E. But Noble Drew Ali, he ain't nobody. And they did their little Mr. Dress Up. The usual. They did their little dress up. Not dressing like African guys. Not dressing like ancient Egyptian whatever. Not dressing like anything other than Moors. And then they got their little, Ali fez with their tacked down tassels, right? Just doing what they do. A little parade. Posing as Moors, because Moors want to be Negro black colored until white men bow to their feet and stuff like that after they pay them to come bow to their feet. And they want to yell black power at the top of their lungs, they bust a vein in their neck or their head or whatever like that, and then claim, the white man did something to the air, made them bust a vessel in their neck, yelling at the top of their lungs some dumb ass stuff about black power when black is pale, and they're really yelling pale power, and Europeans laughing at them because they're following their little stupid minions that were sent by the European to keep our people deaf, blind, and dumb to the truth about their nationality and their birthrights that their prophet Noble Drew Ali brought to them since 1913 that they don't want because they're too busy following false prophets. Ali Shrine. French North Africa, Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco. North Africa was different from other areas of Africa primarily due to its inhabitants prior to colonization. Originally, due to the influence of the Ottoman Empire, the main inhabitants of North Africa consisted of Sunni Muslims, Berber Muslims, and a minority of Jews. French domination in North Africa began with the French invasion of Algeria in 1830. Charles X. That might be 10, but other people use X, as their stuff. Charles X, who was the reigning monarch of France's constitutional monarchy, new system of government implementing with Napoleon's demise, sought Algeria as a way to bolster French morale, gaining him the very much lacked love of the people. Blah, blah, blah. Morocco would enter the French Empire in 1912. This new addition to the French Empire would come due to the Agadir crisis, in which French troops were dispatched to defend Sultan Abdel Hafid. The Sultan had been trapped in his royal palace due to the full-scale rebellion in Morocco, and the French decided to assist the Sultan by sending in French reinforcements. Sensing a possible attack on their trade throughout the region, Germany decided to send the SMS Panther in response to the French mobilization. In order to maintain peace, the Sultan signed the Treaty of Fez, which would give France Morocco, while the Germans would be given areas in the Congo, which they demanded as immediate compensation. With that, French North Africa was complete. It's 1912, remember. The Noble Drew Ali came 1913 and told the Moors, here's your flag back, here's your nation back, here's your national headwear back, here's all the stuff that's yours back. Because the sellouts over there sold themselves, not us or whatever, but we have profit that gave us our stuff back. They sold themselves to the French. Eventually, World War I would come to the French. Eventually, World War I would come, and the French knew that their lands in North Africa, France, European country, Morocco, North African country. French knew that their lands in North Africa were going to be attacked by the Germans. In a bold strategy, the French decided to train the native inhabitants in order to defend North Africa. Altogether, an estimated 500,000 natives were trained in order to protect French holdings in North Africa. The French used propaganda to hopefully strike fear in the German soldiers' heart. They painted these native warriors as fearless and barbaric warriors who could not be defeated in battle. As with all great empires, the colonies would eventually have to be let go. As with all great empires, the colonies would eventually have to let go. 13 colonies, ring a bell? And eventually, the colonies will have to be let go, which is what we're going through right now, with everybody saying to U.S. democracy. And when it gets let go, then it's going right back into the hands of the actual natives of that jurisdiction. Tunisia gained its independence in 1956 and Morocco in 1955. Algeria, the last main stronghold of French North Africa, would gain its independence in 1962 due to the Evian Accords. The Evian Accords served as a treaty brought forth to end the bloodshed of the Algerian War and give Algeria its independence. Evian, E-V-I-A-N, Accords, A-C-C-O-R-D-S. This war consisted of Algerians rising up for their independence quite violently, protesting French rule, and ruthlessly being put down. It was decided that Algeria deserved its independence after a poll had been taken by the French people. This poll demonstrated that the French people were appalled by the cruelty inflicted on the Algerian people by the government and decided independence was the only option. This photo, as I mentioned before, showcases propaganda to hopefully instill fear in the hearts of German soldiers. The quote at the bottom translates to, "The head and the ass of the German are the same. As the picture shows, natives are observing as German troops run away in complete fear. This was the intention of the French, to scare the hell out of the Germans. The French tried, through any means necessary, to showcase how animalistic and savage these natives were. They wanted the Germans to know that these native soldiers had no fear and could never be defeated by any opposing army. These natives were fighting for their homeland, and they would not go down without killing every single German soldier first. A lot of propaganda with this very message circulated throughout Europe. I have a second example down below. This is a native holding his trophy, the dismembered ear of his German victim. So these natives of Morocco, this is how French, during their propaganda, this is how the French depicted the natives of Morocco. The natives of Morocco. Don't they look like some other people that say that they're native to Morocco but not talking about North Africa? Why would the French depict these people who are from North Africa, Morocco, like this, but when you talk to certain people, they're going to tell you that pale Arabs are from there. Natives of Morocco. Native of Morocco with his trophy, a German's ear. And then go back to, I think it was Terminator, or one of those movies with Arnold Schwarzenegger in the jungle. Then there was somebody cutting off people's ears and making a chain out of it. Natives of Morocco. See that thing that they have on his head right there? Native of Morocco, which is over there. And remember, this is during around the same time as Noble Drew Ali, 1912, 1913, 14, 15, going up the line, before they got their independence. Saying natives, when they were under French rule, but they know who the natives were though, and they depicted them accordingly. So don't be fooled when you see pictures and they talk about, see, the Moors working for the Europeans, because everybody knows that the Aboriginal people, the indigenous people, the natives of every landmass are dark-skinned people, regardless whether they're under occupation or not. And the only reason that they're under occupation is to use their melanin power to help the European defeat his enemy. The same thing that they do today with making our people be in the army, join the front line. Don't worry, just go ask all the people who went to go fight in all these wars for this U.S. democracy that made it back home, and they'll tell you. Matter of fact, you could go talk to some of the Moors who are veterans, honors to the Moors, that, gave up their life and, gave up their mind frame and whatever else under the assumption that they were fighting for a country, not knowing that they were fighting for a private corporation of European Inquisitionists. And then they came back home. Then they found out about their nationality and their birthright. And then they started thinking back to, hold on a second. When I went to Vietnam to go fight, the people in Vietnam looked like me that I was fighting. When I went to Middle East, Desert Storm and all that stuff, the people who I went to go fight looked like me. And while I was over there, patrolling and shooting rounds off and stuff like that, not until I actually proclaim my nationality and know the truth about my nationality and birthrights did I realize what the hell was really going on. The Moors that went to Vietnam and would wake up in the night, unconscious Moors that went to Vietnam, and they would wake up in the night to see the Moros or the Vietnamese Bushmen killing people in their sleep and telling the brothers, shh, let's go talk to some of the Moors who because of, the indoctrination, family and then family and then family and family and family fighting in these wars or whatever like that, it just became a pattern that, you're going to go join the army. So they got families that were in World War I, World War II and all that type of stuff, and they got stories. And now that they're Moors, now the stories actually make sense about why they were able to come back home. Why you realize that a lot of these so-called Negro soldiers didn't get medals and stuff like that, because the whole point of them going over there was for them to be collateral damage and not come home. But they came back home because when they went to go fight, their so-called enemy that the European trumped up is their enemy were their brothers and sisters. That they realized that, why are you coming over here to fight for some European when we're your brothers over here? You know what? We're going to spare you guys life. We're going to send you back home. We might, take a knee or something like that, take an elbow and make it look good. But trust you're going back home. And just so, if anybody has any disagreements about, the whole military BS, and when we say military, we're talking about fighting for the democracy, right? Again, we say, honors to the veterans that were thinking that they were fighting for their country. And then when they got back home, they realized that they got played because, they don't got no health care, they don't got no support or nothing like that. Democracy doesn't give a shit about them because they went and did their job. got some Asiatics off the planet, because Asiatics are everywhere. Ain't no Europeans everywhere, Asiatics everywhere. But just to put it on the record with regard to how the so-called democracy really feels about people who join the army, we're going to go to our secret book, King Alfred Plan. That is not a secret anymore. You can get it online. You can get it at rvbaypublications.com. You could Google search Executive Order 11490. And we're going to read page 53 on the draft. Few efforts of human behavior modification are more remarkable or more effective than that of the socio-military institution known as the draft. A primary purpose of a draft or other such institution is to instill, by intimidation, in the young males of a society the uncritical conviction that the government is omnipotent. And remember that the government is a private corporation in this case, not the government. He is soon taught that a prayer is slow to reverse what a bullet can do in an instant. Thus, a man is trained in a religious environment for 18 years of his life, can, by this instrument of the government corporation, be broken down, be purged of his fantasies and delusions in a matter of mere months. Once that conviction is instilled, all else becomes easy to instill. Even more interesting is the process by which a young man's parents, who purportedly love him, can be induced to send him off to war to his death. That's all the veterans that came back, about all the people that they lost over there for nothing, just because they thought that go over here and fight for my country. Didn't know that they were fighting for a private corporation who was using them as a tool to eliminate their brothers and sisters in other places. No different than, gangs. And then they recruit or draft young people, join a gang, go kill that guy over there because they live across the street, and across the street is enemy whatever. Although the scope of this work will not allow this matter to be expanded in full detail, nevertheless, a course overview will be possible and can serve to reveal those factors which must be included in some numerical form in a computer analysis for social and war systems. We begin with a tentative definition of the draft. The draft, selective service, etc., is an institution of compulsory, collective sacrifice and slavery, devised by the middle-aged and elderly for the purpose of pressing the young into doing the public dirty work. It further serves to make the youth as guilty as the elders, thus making criticism of the elders by the youth less likely. Generational stabilizer. It is marked and sold to the public under the label of patriotic national service. Right? And keep in mind, make sure that it's at the front of your mind that anytime you think of military Anytime you think of war, anytime you think of Navy SEALs and paratroopers and tanks and planes and battleships and machine guns and mines and all these things relative to war at the front of your mind, make sure you have Muhammad Ali there. And him draft dodging. And why he was able to draft dodge. Why was he able to say to himself, you know what? You guys can lock me up because I'm not going no war for anybody. What did he know that made him say, I'm not going? You guys can lock me up. I don't care. I'll do my 5 years comfortably, knowing that I'm not going into the war. And then all you got to do is just go to all of his interviews and he explains why he quote unquote draft dodged. So as soon as you hear people, especially young people, you know what I mean, society that we live in, you know, I've been trying to get a job. I gave out so many applications and I tried selling, you know, ice cream. That's not working. And there's an online thing and nobody's not buying nothing and nobody wants to support the pyramid scheme that I started online or whatever like that. You know what? Forget it. I'm going to go join the army. Play them some Muhammad Ali stuff immediately about him and why he didn't go join no damn army. Once a candid economic definition of the draft is achieved, that definition is used to outline the boundaries of a structure called a human value system, which in turn is translated into the terms of game theory. The value of such a slave laborer is given in a table of human values, a table breakdown into categories by intellect, experience, post-service job demand, etc. Some of these categories are ordinary and can be tentatively evaluated in terms of the value of certain jobs for which a known fee exists. Some jobs are harder to value because they are unique to the demands of social subversion. For an extreme example, the value of a mother's instructions to her daughter, causing that daughter to put certain behavioral demands. All you brothers out there dealing with child support BS, keep this in mind right here. For an extreme example, the value of a mother's instructions to her daughter, causing that daughter to put certain behavioral demands upon a future husband 10 or 15 years hence, thus by suppressing his resistance to a perversion of a government corporation, making it easier for a banking cartel to buy the state of New York in, say, 20 years. Such a problem leans heavily upon the observations and data of wartime espionage and many types of psychological testing, but crude mathematical models, algorithms can be devised, if not to predict, at least to predetermine these events with maximum certainty. What does exist by natural cooperation is thus enhanced by calculated compulsion. Human beings are machines, levers, which may be grasped and turned, and there is little real difference between automating a society and automating a shoe factory. the derived values are variable. It is necessary to use a current table of human values for computer analysis. So again, such a problem leans heavily upon the observations and data of wartime espionage and many types of psychological testing. So when we hear people want to try to play their Jedi mind tricks on people who really aren't there, and then they do something like this and they say, see the Moors, see what the Moors did? The Moors enslaved their own people. This is that wartime espionage and psychological testing that are used in order to get the machines to keep being machines. To get the people to not be living, sentient beings and to keep them zombies. The powers that be have their minions that are going to... Because remember, these individuals with fezzes on were drafted to do this job. When you do your research on these so-called soldiers that all these European countries that colonized Africa used in order to rape Africa, you'll find out that these brothers with the fezzes on were 10% of the military. 90% of the military was European. When you do your research on these brothers with the fezzes on, all these so-called different regiments, British regiment, French regiment, Belgian regiment of whatever, and then you see brothers in fezzes, know that they were only about 10% of the army. Everybody else was European. These individuals were specifically used in order to get the people today to think that Moors were responsible for the enslavement of their own people, when that's not the case. These people were drafted. How do we know that these people were drafted? How do we know that this is Minority Report and James Bond and double agents and all this type of stuff? How do we know that? Because when we go do our due diligence, for example, that's King Leopold, Congo, you know the DVD, White King Robert, Black Death and all that stuff, right? They would never show you Angelo Solomon, who was from the Congo. But Solomon had nothing to do with British regiment, nothing or whatever. This is one of the most honorable Moors to the Europeans. One of the most honorable Moors to the Europeans. didn't classify him as working with them or nothing like that. Right? Because he wasn't drafted. He wasn't a selected toy to be used by the European colonists because he had knowledge of self. Right? It's free. King Zhao of the Congo. They don't have him in no British regiment or whatever like that. They don't show him. They don't classify him as being part of those sellouts that were compromised. Because they'll tell you in the same DVD, the same documentary on King Leopold, that those fez-wearing soldiers that they used against the people of the Congo were Congolese people. You do your research on military regalia, they talk about those people and why they dress them like that. That wasn't something that wasn't planned or orchestrated. They didn't have to dress them like that. They dressed them like that for a specific reason. Psychological warfare. Get the people to hate their own stuff. This is the Congo right here. So you have this in the Congo, and then you have some European colonization, and then you have this coming and cutting your hands off and whipping you and making you feel like you're subordinate. What would you think about this if you're the victim? That this is the most devilish individual on the planet, when the real devils were behind these people. These weren't really the devils, right? These brothers weren't really the devils. They were agents of the European colonial powers. Go get Walter Rodney's book, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. And they'll tell you in there all the stuff that they did in order to get the people to hate their own stuff. Right? This painting is called Moorish African. Moorish African. African where? African is a continent. Like where in Africa is this Moor from? Where in Africa did he come from? How are they going to classify this individual as a Moorish African? And then when the people see this, they're going to think this automatically. They're not even going to have any second thoughts. As soon as they see this, they're going to think, oh, agent working for the Belgians and the Moors, they sold their own people. Psychological warfare. Where? What do you mean Moorish African? African from where? Congo? West Africa? South Africa? Where? No specification. because to specify would give legitimacy, but not to specify gives legitimacy. That this was a custom all throughout the continent. Turbans and fezzes on dark-skinned people. Turbans and fezzes on dark-skinned people is an African custom. This is not something that the Europeans brought here in order to have us pillage our own people. This was already on the continent. That's why it was so easy to get it there. That's why it was so easy for the Belgians to manipulate the people so they can manipulate their own people. Moorish African. And the painter called the picture this, Moorish African. So nobody can say that they don't know. King Nicholas of the Congo. Has a little button on top of his crown and everything. And go research him, and you'll see that they were fighting against the Portuguese, and that they weren't wearing some cross because they were Christian. Now wearing some cross because they're Christian. But you have unconscious Moors today trying to use their own culture against their own people to keep them from recognizing that they have a birthright. Right? So they're going to tell you, see, look, the Moors are working with the European to colonize their own people. The Moors are working with the European to colonize their own people. It's the Moors that did that. But they won't tell you about Aaron Moore, who was known as the Congo Prince. How come Aaron Moore is known as the Congo Prince, but they won't say that he's working with the European to colonize something? Because the headwear is before the Belgians came in there. The headwear is before the Belgians came in the Congo. They're going to tell you, look, the Moors helped King Leopold get the Congo. The Moors helped King Leopold get the Congo. And these are compromised Congolese. These were tribesmen of the Congo. that were subjugated themselves, which is why they even signed up to work for the Belgians in order to murder and rape and pillage their own land and their own people. They didn't willingly do this. They did this due to subjugation. They did this due to being told that we'll kill your wife and your children if you don't sign up, while we're expanding over this territory. Tribesmen. And when you research them, they say that. They're not even secret with it. But niggers don't read, and they like to flash pictures. And they're going to flash pictures to try to make a point that Moors did something to somebody, when we're the founders of civilization and everybody learned because of us. Right? Why is it that every time they show you Aaron Moore, the Congo prince, they have him in a fez? You have nothing to do with Belgians and all that stuff. How come they don't show you this picture and say, oh yeah, he's working for the Belgians? Because it's a lie. Those brothers weren't working for the Belgians. They were under subjugation. And we wanted to put out there again, just to stress the fact of what the brother was saying in class on Sunday, that in Nigeria, they have that hat in Nigeria, and only people of high status wear this hat. How come you wear this hat? Because we're of high status on this side. Same stuff on it, where you're from in Nigeria. Europeans brought this to them? No, Europeans didn't bring that to them. This stuff been in Nigeria. And this is the Nigerian talking. Nigerian said himself, out of his own mouth, that these type of headwears been in Nigeria. Ain't no Europeans brought this to Nigeria. Been in Nigeria. This is not some European thing that was brought to Nigeria. This is part of the culture of the Igbo people. This is part of their culture. West Africans. And like we showed in the picture, Moorish African with a fez and turban lets you know that the entire continent knows about fezzes and turbans. And they are only worn by the dignified people of the continent. Only the high-end people. Ain't no commoners wearing red fezzes and turbans. And the Negroes are going to continually try to make this seem like, you know, some European sellout thing. Right? In 1914, the Force Publique, Publique, inclusive of the Katanga companies, totaled about 17,000 soldiers, with 178 white officers and 235 white NCOs. The majority served in small, static garrisons called posts, with a primary police role. With the outbreak of World War I, the Katangese units were organized in battalions for military service in northern Rhodesia and the eastern frontier districts of the Congo. The Force Publique was able to assemble another battalion from smaller units originally called Ile, but changed to 11E to avoid confusion with Katanga Battalion. So to avoid confusion with the Katanga Battalion, they started changing the dress code. And again, when you do the research on the military uniform of the Force Publique, they'll show you all the different uniforms that they wore and the different headwears which went with different regiments, etc. So don't let these people fool you out of your birthright into thinking that Guy in a fez sold out his people willingly and lovingly, and he was getting paid off so good by the European that he sold out his countrymen. That's not the case. These people were under supreme subjugation. No different than the overseer on the plantation was under subjugation. According to research conducted by the University of Pennsylvania, the ancient Sumerian language shares numerous cognates with the Proto-Bantu languages of West and Central Africa. These Bantu-speaking people migrated out of West and Central Africa around 13,000 years ago. They traveled to the Nile Valley, then to the very tip of East Africa before settling in Sumer. You can get more details on this history for yourself in Black Sumer, The African Origin of Civilization by Hermel Hermstein, Hermel Hermstein. Black Sumer, The African Origin of Civilization. The ancient Niger-Congo languages predate the ancient Sumerian cuneiform writings by nearly 5,000 years, which suggest that it was West and Central Africans who shaped Sumerian language and not Sumerian colonists who influenced the language of Bantu-speaking people in West and Central Africa. And then they have a West African witch doctor and the Canaanite god El. Moorish Africans, goddamn right. And with clarity, we know, by us studying, we know that the people on the continent and the people over here on the 3 continents here are the same people. Same culture. And the real people who are pushing division are the Negro, black, colored, conscious people who don't want to recognize that we are all Moors. The Olmec jaguar deity, wearing a fez. And then you see that he has the acorn right there, like we talked about before, representing the pineal gland, representing enlightenment. And remember, when we were in Philly, we showed you the acorns in Kemet on their headwear. And then here's the jaguar Olmec of South America with the acorn on the headwear to show that it's the same culture. And he's wearing a fez to let you know that it's the same culture. And then the high priests of Anu were called Moors, which means they wore fezzes too. And these people want to play around like they're black and all this stupid stuff. Right? You know, even Al Sharpton knows what's up. There's when Al used to be a fat boy. Before he turned to a bobblehead, his head bigger than his body. He had his perm and stuff like that. There he is with the master teacher, Malachi York L, wearing his black fez without the ankh on it like you see these fake Nuwapians wearing today. Talking about they're Nuwapians, they're not Moors. But Doc has the fez without the ankh on it. But they got the fez with the ankh and they're talking crap about their Nuwapians. But he doesn't have any ankh on his stuff. And then there's Al Sharpton, so Al Sharpton knows what's up too. And then there's another picture with Jesse Jackson in the picture wearing the fez with the ankh on it. You look that one up online. Jesse Jackson with cult members. Before we deal with some questions, we'll just read a couple excerpts from You Know Something's Wrong When? By Anna Maria Reisinger and James Clinton Belcher. If you want to get this book, you can email avannavon@gmail.com. avannavon@gmail.com. Page 30. The second big lie. Later, the colonists tried to buy the land from the Indians, who told them that they didn't own the land. The land owned the people. The colonists ignored this and forced the Indians to accept gifts as payment and concocted contracts of sale based on this practice. This and every other nation you can think of is founded on lies and false claims. Buying and selling and taxing land is a con game in which we buy back the right to enjoy the assets that were already given to us. Those in the middle, the trustees, are cheating us and enriching themselves, whether it's the Pope, King of Spain, or the state of Ohio. Because the Indians continued their efforts to bring this fraud to everyone else's attention, they were deemed enemies of the crown and subjugated to physical and cultural genocide for 400 years. Numbers sound familiar? Who else was subjugated for 400 years? Could they really be talking about the same story, but saying Indians instead of saying black guys? Because, you know, Why would they say black guys when they know that black guys are Indians? Men, women, and children, they died to bring you this basic truth. They were killed because they knew and spoke this truth in your behalf as well as their own. The trust, again. Native Americans had their own vision of the trust. In their view, it was simple and obvious. 1. The trust is sacred and belongs equally to all people. 2. The trust requires our gratitude. We cannot take without giving. 3. The trust requires caretaking. This generation cannot destroy what is owed to the next. It is every adult's duty to hand over the trust in the same or better condition than he received it. Anyone who wastes resources or pollutes the world is viewed like a 2-year-old with a hammer, too ignorant to know better, dangerous, and needing guidance and discipline. The Europeans conquered by force and by guilt, but they lost the morale debate forever. Commander William F. Cody, quote, "Kill the buffalo and you kill the Indians." Quote, "Sitting Bull, let us put our minds together and see what kind of life we can make for our children." They go in on this. More judges spill the beans. The individual, unlike the corporation, cannot be taxed for the mere privilege of existing. The corporation is an artificial entity which owes its existence and charter powers to the state, but the individual's right to live and own property are natural rights, for the enjoyment of which an exercise cannot be imposed. Oregon Supreme Court, Redfield versus Fisher. Redfield versus Fisher. A mere statement of this fact may not seem very significant. Corporations, after all, are not supposed to exercise the governmental powers with which the Bill of Rights was concerned. But this has been radically changed by the emergence of the public-private state. Today, private institutions do exercise governmental power, more indeed than government itself. We have 2 governments in America, then one under the Constitution and a much greater one not under the Constitution. In short, the inapplicability of our Bill of Rights is one of the crucial facts of American life today. Chief Judge Fox, U.S. District Court of Michigan, Milowski versus Sears Roebuck, MILOSZEWSKI versus Sears Roebuck, ROEBUCK. Note the crimes involved. Personage. The crime of knowingly misrepresenting a living man or woman as a legal fiction, some form of corporation such as a trust, public utility, or foundation. Personage. The crime of knowingly misrepresenting a living man or woman as a legal fiction, some form of corporation such as a trust, public utility, or foundation. For example, knowingly mischaracterizing the living woman named Elizabeth Arden as if she were the corporate design company Elizabeth Arden Incorporated is a crime of personage. Barratry, B-A-R-R-A-T-R-Y, B-A-R-R-A-T-R-Y. Yes, named after the Bar Association for a good reason. The crime of knowingly bringing false claims and charges based on personage in order to use foreign statutory law against living people. Barratry, B-A-R-R-A-T-R-Y. The crime of knowingly bringing false claims and charges based on personage in order to use foreign statutory law against living people. These two crimes are routinely practiced by members of the bar associations worldwide to inflict unjust punishment, defraud people of property, and to raise money for themselves and the banks they work for. The American Bar Association has violated their corporate charters, the Smith Act, and the Taft-Hartley Act with impunity. Smith Act and Taft, T-A-F-T, hyphen Hartley, H-A-R-T-L-E-Y, Act. Fearing retribution, nobody has guts enough to take them on and expose their criminality. Let's see what else we got here. There's so much in this, it's no wonder Noble Drew Ali said, if the European helped me, why not you? If the European helped me, why not you? The power of no. Many people have the understandable impulse to go out and express rage over what has been done to them and in their names. But any violence only plays into the hands of those guilty of these crimes. They have the guns, the tanks, the tasers, and the clubs. They also presume to have the moral authority and responsibility to stop quote-unquote rebellion and insurrection. Moreover, they get paid out of your pockets for doing so. We must literally be gentle as doves and wise as serpents. Remember that these Babylonian usurpers worship duality. For the process to work, there has to be a black and a white, a Republican and a Democrat, a Christian and a Muslim, a pillar and a post. Without duality, they can't function and their entire system grinds to a halt. Without duality, the mirror images and semantic deceit, they can no longer confuse the issues and the people. They can't divide and conquer. The correct and only strategy that works against them is precisely that employed not so long ago by Gandhi. Non-violent, non-cooperation. They say you have to pay income taxes. No, you don't. They say you have to have a driver's license to travel from point to point. No, you don't. They say you have to buy health insurance from them. No, you don't. They say you have to obey and pay for enforcing 80 million laws, quote unquote. No, you don't. They say you have to register your private property, including your children. No, you don't. They didn't create you. They don't own you. You are not their employee. By what authority do they address you and demand that you do anything at all? So long as you are not harming anyone, or damaging property, they have no right to even speak to you unless spoken to. When did you knowingly, willingly, and under conditions of full disclosure sign any contract subjecting your will to theirs? When and where did you give them consent to charge their debts to your account? Ask them. Drag them out into the open air and make them show you the contract obligating you. If they say the Constitution, ask which Constitution? Which state? Ask them to show you your signature on the document in question. Be tough-minded, polite, and determined, remembering always that most of the people involved in implementing this system have no idea that they are doing anything wrong. Show them mercy in their ignorance and educate them. Help them understand to the extent possible. In this day, we dismantle and undermine the system of duality from the ground up. When we stop thinking in terms of us versus them, and black versus white, and Republican versus Democrat, and Christian versus Muslim, and American versus Iranian, we deprive the criminals among us of their power to manipulate and control and feed upon us. We must recognize that there is one human family. Sound familiar? One planet, one sea, one global jurisdiction of the air, and that all true law among all men can be reduced down to 3 simple precepts. 1. Keep the peace. Isn't that one of our principles that we're told to live by? Love others as you would be loved. Isn't that one of our principles that we're taught to live by? Do no harm. By honoring these simple natural laws, we put an end to the endless conflicts and criminality. We protect ourselves and everyone else from being used as instruments of evil. We end the system of duality and enslavement without firing a shot. You Know Something is Wrong When, by Anna Maria Reitzinger and James Clinton Belcher. Islam to Brother Seton Rabe putting me onto that one. So we know that there were some questions, so let's get to those. I am now watching the YouTube video given by Taj Bey. I would like to get copies of all handouts, please. Is there an upcoming video to this? I am still not clear. Is there other videos regarding mortgages? I have a home and have not paid in years. Need to get home in a safe place. Well, you can go to RV Bay Publications, like we tell people. RV Bay Publications, and when you go to RV Bay Publications, you will go to the mortgage fraud page and study. And then you'll go back to the top of the page and then study again. And then every single word on that page that you don't know, or that you assume you think you know what that word means or whatever, you're going to look that up in first, second, third, or fourth edition Black's Law Dictionary. Then you're going to look it up in a unabridged dictionary. Then you're going to look it up in etymology dictionary, so you can be clear as to what's being relayed to you. And then you're going to go back to that video that you watched by Brother Taj Tariq Bey about mortgage fraud. And then you're going to take notes and correlate those notes with the notes that you took from RV Bey Publications page. And in due time, you will get the answers that you seek so that you can protect your property called house. So again, go to RV Bey Publications and you are going to go to the mortgage fraud page and study what's on that page, and you'll be all right. Now, like we tell people, do not assume that because you have this information now that you're just going to implement this and then it's going to work. Most of the time it's not going to work because we haven't exercised our niggerness. So the niggerness is going to cause you to have some hiccups when you start implementing these things that you're finding out on RV Bey Publications, etc. You know, writs and stuff like that. You know, it happens to everybody. Not everything goes according to plan. But, you know, that doesn't mean throw in the towel or give up because, you know, stuff didn't go your way. It means that we need to try again. You know what I mean? No. Just like when you try meditating for the first time, you know, you realize you're thinking about all types of stuff. Am I breathing? How am I breathing? As you don't have a clear mind. Right? It's because nigger kicks in. And once that happens, you know, once that happens, that's when you got to humble yourself, realize that you're not there yet, and keep going. That's why we had put it out there, the flyer that Noble Drew Ali had when he classified or called himself the Egyptian adept student. Because everybody would think, adept, you know, yeah, that's it. I made it to the top of the mountain or whatever like that. When that's not really, you didn't make it anywhere. No, you didn't make it anywhere. A real adept is forever a student. A real adept, there's no ceiling to your learning. Brother Mika Shabazz L. Islam, I would like to give salutations to Grand Sheikh Kudro, Ado L. and Grand Secretary Amari L. Bey for bestowing the honor on me of membership to the subordinate temple number 5. I know I've been quite difficult to deal with, being that I always forgot to not be anxious and do things more thoroughly or without trying to skip ahead or allowing these corporations to strike fear in me. I am constantly studying and have realized that the study will never end and that there is always something I won't know and sometimes won't comprehend or know how to apply until I internalize it through constant review. Islam to that. Peace and love to the Moor. And anybody, we'll just answer it with this question. Islam, greetings, giving honors to Prophet Noble Drew Ali for his missionary work, raising up fallen humanity. To the elders past and present, to the ancestors, respect, love, and peace. My name is Nathaniel Aria L. I live in Northwest Amexem. I currently reside near corporate Wisconsin, and where I live mostly, German and Dutch. The brothers and sisters that live here are stuck on Jesus Christos and the Hebrew Israelites yelling and screaming, taking their monopoly notes. I bought books, dictionaries, law dictionaries, etc. I have a flag and a fez and pins, no button or national ID. I've been studying, but it's not like if I would be studying under your tutelage. I want to join your temple. I've been thinking about relocating there where you are because I lived in Chicago before moving to Wisconsin and ready to live here. Before I do, I want to get my studies in. I want to become a missionary and do what I got to do to help our national cause. This thing is bigger than the so-called Negro's ego, and he still stumbles and waddles in his own tribulation. I am tired of the niggerisms and foolish sleeping Moors who refuse to wake up. Their energy is too negative for me, and I want to be surrounded by Moors who are positive and helpful. I study alone and it's scattered because I'm too anxious and eager to learn, but I have to humble myself, calm down, and take it easy. I have a Circle 7 Quran. I plan to use RV Bay website and buy every book on there. I press them all and I bookmark the site and study from it. Also, I print all the info that I can, and that's how I got a few books too, by printing them. So love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice to you all, my brethren and sisters, and respect and honor to Prophet Noble Drew Ali and the elders past and present and the ancestors, Islam. And that's brother Nathaniel L. Well, I'm going to send you, because I don't know where in Wisconsin you are, but we got Moors around there. So I'm going to send you some emails, and, there's niggerism and foolishness here too. So, don't think that, Canaanland is some, beacon of, only Moors and that's it. They got crazy people here too. The brother right now dealing with some Universal Negro Improvement Association resurrection stuff. Mad because, I want him to stop sending me Negro emails. I'm not no Negro. I don't want anything to do with your Negro Improvement Association. I'm not Negro. So don't send me stuff dealing with Negro. And then your name's X and all this stuff. And, wants to complain to some human rights, whatever, about, me going at him on his email, and he has proof of me, degrading him and all this stuff. I'm like, they don't respect Negroes and stuff like that, but, you go ahead and make a fool of yourself, you know what I mean? Because, trust me, any one of these human tribunal BS that you go to, that's gonna come at me about some stuff, they're gonna get it before I get it. Believe that. But the Negro stuff is everywhere. And like we said, brother even made a video about it. Best thing to do is, just like you said, humble yourself and just study. Ain't nothing else to do right now. You know what I mean? Basketball sucks. Everything sucks. Everything's freaking staged right now. Shopping sucks. All you have is tight pants everywhere, skinny jeans. You gotta go buy sneakers, $300. And everything sucks, right? Brother sent me a video, some scientist guy going around talking about, pesticides in the fruits and vegetables and stuff like that, making fish gay and frogs gay and stuff like that. People posting stuff, rabbits trying to have sex with cats and stuff like that. Stuff's messed up all over the place right now. The best thing to do is go to your humble abode, right? And, you know, put some energy toward studying, because right now it's madness outside of your house right now. If you go outside, if you have to go outside, you know what I mean? If you have to go outside. Like, if you don't have to go outside, just do like certain Moors and stay inside and study. When you have to, you know what I mean? Do your little ritual, light your sage, you know what I mean? Give yourself some brushes and stuff like that. Go outside, do your stuff, hurry back inside, because if these vampires hold you outside, you're not coming home. Just go watch Walking Dead, and you'll get the point. Go watch Blade, and you'll get the point of don't let these vampires hold you outside, because they're not playing right now, and they're going after more than necks right now. If you get a chance, look at the YouTube video of Chief Warhorse. It shows women nation chiefs here in America, plus views from our people of accepting that we are from America and not Africa. I thought you would like looking at it if you haven't seen it before. So that's one for the Moors, Chief Warhorse on YouTube. Just go check that out. See what's good with that. Islam Moor, I come to you humbly out of respect and seeking knowledge. I just recently came across your video on YouTube entitled Clearing Up the Lord Abba Confusion, and I must say that I still consider myself to be confused about a few things. Now I understand that you're saying he's a fraud in the video, and I feel you on a bunch of things you were saying. For example, I live here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I see that you were saying people were incompetent because they're not doing the proper amount of studying. Here's one of, I'm sure to be many questions that I have in general, but I do want to study. Is there a study guide that you may have recommended for someone who is very interested in learning about the Constitution and law and the science of jurisprudence? Well, the first study guide with regard to the Constitution is the Constitution. So you're going to go get the Constitution for the United States of America Republic. 7 articles, 10 Bill of Rights. Then you're going to go study that, because the Constitution should be studied. It should be considered. Right? Don't listen to these people, Constitution suspended and all that stuff like that. Don't even hear that. Should do the studying of the Constitution, because that is the instrument that you are going to use against these people when they try to come at you with their statutory law BS. Right? With regard to the science of jurisprudence, first thing you want to do is make sure you have your law dictionary. First, second, or third Black's Law Dictionary. You can get Bouvier's and you can get Ballantyne's Law Dictionaries, and look up jurisprudence. See what that is. And then go to rvbaypublications.com and look up jurisprudence. And then check that part of the page out. And you will start to come to the realization, just like what the other brother said, that the more you find out, the more you realize you don't know anything. And then you'll come to the other conclusion of what Brother Casanova and a few of these other Moors: stay your ass home and put some study in. If you got obligations, handle your obligations the best of your ability. Any other time that you got, study time. Because there's no free ride. Right? There's no free ride. Everybody who is gravitating on this information is gonna have to their put in their time, because too many people think that you can just hear this and then, oh yeah, I heard that, so now I'm gonna go and then that's gonna work. No, like, you have to be what you know. You have to be what you know. Like, you can't claim I'm a Moor without knowing what it is to be a Moor and what it takes to be a Moor. You can't claim I'm a Moor and not know about Noble Drew Ali. At least some history of Noble Drew Ali. Man, it doesn't have to be detailed. Just, you know what I mean? Get the literature, get the books and stuff like that, so that you can be clear in your mind with what this man brought, because you know he is the best kept secret. You know what I mean? Guaranteed, he's the best kept secret, and a lot of people, you know, don't want that secret to get out. You know what I mean? Because if that secret gets out, right? If that secret gets out, it's gonna be endgame for a lot of people who have been playing our people for the past 100 years, right? Particular order of study. My suggestion is RV Bay Publications. Go to the top of the page and then make your way to the bottom. You know what I mean? It'll take you about a year. Go to moorcivilletter.net, moorcivilletter.net, moorcivilletter.net. Go to the top of the page, make your way to the bottom. Go to YouTube. You can research Hakeem Bey. When you research Hakeem Bey, he'll give you pages and pages of notes that you can research the historical position of our people in the Americas, right? But there's no order like that. I wish there was an order, but there's no order, because everything eventually leads to everything else. So you start studying over here, eventually you're going to get over here, which is going to lead you back to over here, which is going to lead you down here, which is going to lead you up here, which is going to lead you back to down here, to over here, to back over here. So you just got to study. One of the methods that I used early out was what's interesting to me. Like, what's interesting with regard to this? You know what I mean? You know, the slave myth was interesting to me. You know what I mean? Did we really come over here on a slave ship? Was interesting to me. The speeches of past black leaders was interesting to me. I read a lot of speeches from different people. What were they really saying behind their words? You know, a lot of the speeches in a Negro black colored mindset is really just morale boosting, you know, words on a paper. But with a Moorish mindset, you realize that the speeches are constitutional in nature. They were um, natural law in nature. Um, they spoke from a constitutional perspective with regard to rights and things like that. The only the only issue was that they were speaking from a black perspective. And then once you're reading the speeches or reading about people and you replace black with more in your mind while you're reading, a lot of these speeches turn into something totally different. Replace white and KKK and all these different names that we made up for the European. Replace all those things with European. A lot of these things have a whole different meaning when you change the language. So will that helps out? If it doesn't help out, send an email, canaanlandguide@gmail.com, and we would definitely add on to those things. We got an email from Brother Hassan Ghazi El Bey. Just some info for the family. You can go to litigation.findlaw.com, litigation.findlaw.com /legal system /class action cases.html. litigation.findlaw.com /legal system /class action cases.html, and that's about class action cases. So you can check that out. Again, it's just some information for the Moors to look into. We might actually get to the end of the questions today. Brother Anton Maddox L. Why do most temple Moors get upset when Moors talk nationality and civics or Moorish law, and they will even lie and say the whole law concept the Prophet brought to us is all a lie, when it's obvious in congressional records and in treaties and in the Constitution? Well, majority of the temple Moors are absent-minded of the vast connection to constitutional law that Noble Drew Ali presented, because they look at everything from a religious perspective. So if you do your, if you check the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple, and you go to the chapter of magistrate and subject, clearly Noble Drew Ali is talking about governmental principles in that chapter, right? If you read that chapter with a constitutional mindset, you will realize that he's speaking from the perspective of the people and the government officials. You're not talking about magistrates and subjects. He's talking about the people and the government officials that the people have elected and the duty that those people have. Right? The duty that those people have. The elected people, the duty that they have to serve to the people. The obligation that they have to the people. That they can't get caught up and get long-winded thinking that, because they have a certain seat of power, that they have power. Because earlier in the Quran, you're taught that power is an illusion. So don't be fooled into thinking that when these temple individuals are speaking about grand and governor and supreme, and think that they don't have no power. All that grand, supreme, and all that stuff is what you gave them. They didn't just pull that from the sky and say, yeah, I'm it. I'm the supreme whatever. Right? And the part about them getting upset is because the more people wake up and realize this fraud that they've been running for the past 80 years, the more people start walking out those doors. But what we are suggesting the people do, right? Because if you go to these places, if you go to this place called Moorish Science Temple and it's corrupt, you're not getting those people out of that seat unless you go up there and grab them by the throat and drag them out the building. Like, they're not going to give up the seat because they already know what's vested in that seat. Majority of people, that's their livelihood. I mean, they've made the seat of power their job. Instead of going out and working or whatever, they live off people's dues and all that stuff. No different than Pastor Man does. So, we teach people to, go in, check it out. You know what I mean? Don't be afraid of it because it is your temple, right? Go and check it out. If you realize that it's corrupt, then leave. But don't ditch the temple because of your experience or your negative experience in one Moorish Science temple. Just find another temple and go check that one out. If that one is wherever, then ditch that one and then go find another one. And then make sure when you ditch, you let other people know, hey, those guys over there, don't even mess with those guys over there because those guys are corrupt, right? And not slandering if you really don't know or you heard something, experience it yourself. You go into the temple and realize that they're running church, they're singing hymns to Noble Drew Ali and not teaching the people no civics classes and all that, then call those people out, right? Call the people out. Because remember, the temple is perfect. But if the people in the temple are running it corrupt, then that's not a temple. That's just a building with a sign that says Moorish Science Temple on it. And the more people, and again, I mean, like we can say, we're gonna take credit, as active Moors. We put the information out. People wouldn't know anything if it wasn't for us, blah. But Noble Drew Ali told these people that new Moors are gonna come with their eyes wide open. You guys keep playing around like everybody's stupid. Eventually, all the people with eyes wide open are going to come into this movement. And when they come in, they're going to seat you old Moors in the back, and they're going to carry out what's supposed to be carried out, which is what's going on right now, which is prophecy manifesting. This is why you have certain Moors mad at Cujo. Who made him Grand Sheik and stuff like that? I mean, don't get mad at me. Because you guys didn't do your job. Don't be mad at me because, I have brilliant grand secretary who took it upon himself to open up the temple to anybody who wants to be part of the temple. I mean, that wasn't even my stuff. That was secretary. Said, hey, you know what, we should give anybody membership. I mean, nobody could find a temple anywhere. So why don't we just give everybody membership? Went, consulted with the elders. Hey, what do you think about us opening up? Hey, that's a brilliant idea. So we open up the temple. Anybody could be a member if they want, honorary, if they're not in Canaanland. And, if you want to reach the secretary to get your membership form for the Canaanland Moors, Moorish Science Temple, to be an honorary member, if you don't domicile in Canaanland, you can email him at Amaury, AMAURY, Elbay at hotmail.com. AMAURY, Elbay at hotmail.com. I know it's not all Temple Moors, but the majority ones. I have nothing to respond with when this question is asked. So, again, I mean, like, Moors who are agents, Moors who work for the democracy, are going to tell you, go pay your taxes if you're a Moor. Which is to what democracy? IRS. IRS is tax collectors. Why would a Moor tell a Moor to go pay taxes when the Inquisition Revenue Service is who collects taxes? If Congress was collecting taxes and a Moor said, go pay your taxes, you know what I mean? I can't knock it. But Inquisition Revenue Services is sending you letters talking about pay taxes, and a Moor is telling you, don't fight them, don't be anti-government or whatever, go pay your taxes. He works for the Inquisition Revenue Services, guaranteed. Guaranteed he works for them. Right? Okay? And like you said, it's obvious in the congressional records that, Noble Drew Ali taught civics. Right? How is that obvious? Because we have CMB registered in the Library of Congress, who was a student of Noble Drew Ali, right? Ever since a young boy. And you read CMB's books, the Zodiac Constitution, all that stuff, you realize that he learned some civics under the Prophet, right? That's just what it is. Okay. Brother Hassan Ghazi Elbay, the questions which I'm asking often, how do more American nationals without a service or product to offer successfully work for pecuniary compensation finance without compromising, neutralizing more American national status? The only way that you can work for pecuniary compensation, finance, without compromising, neutralizing your allodial status is by providing a service or product for yourself. So, Moors have to get out of the mentality of thinking that we should only serve Moors. Don't think only serve Moors, because we're the torchbearers of civilization. Everybody learned something from the Moors. So it's only right that we provide our service or product to everybody. Right? We have Europeans that come to our temple to support. We have Europeans that come. And they support generously because they honor and respect what we're doing and what we're about. Now we're not turning them away because they're European. We're not black guys. We're not Negroes. We're not conscious African whatever. We're Moors. And them Europeans know that we're Moors. That's why in the literature you have the story of that European who came to the temple to thank the prophet for helping him save all this money or whatever when the stock market crashed. Right? How do you find out about that? How the European find out that there was this man by the name of Noble Drew Ali who was teaching the Moors, get your money out of the banks or whatever like that, because stock market is gonna crash, put it in the post office. Use that as your bank, back then. Right? And a European who saved all this finance because he listened to what the prophet said. How do you get that message? He was obviously studying the prophet. You know what I mean? He was obviously in. He was in. Like, if he's coming to thank the prophet personally, that's not his first interaction with the prophet. Right? So, whatever product or service that we have, keep in mind that we are the founders of civilization. And everybody has to benefit or should benefit from what the Moors have to offer. Especially if you have something to offer that is worth them putting down some finance, because Europeans, unfortunate as it is to say, Europeans will put down the finance before your brothers and sisters that don't have a nationality put down finance. Even the ones that have nationalities, they're not going to put down finance as fast as this European's going to put down finance, just so the European could say that, yes, I helped, or I assisted, or yeah, I put my money in, or whatever like that. You feel good about their self-karmic debt release. Because they got karmic debt that they want to release, and the only way that they're going to do that is to help us get out of this mess that they know their ancestors had part of us being in. You know what I mean? Like when we say, for example, Richard Smith, for example, right? We and I don't know if we put this out there or whatever like that. I don't care. I just put it out there so you can get the perspective, right? We went to him and said, listen, we respect what you're doing or whatever like that as a European. You know what I mean? We want to support you. We have a temple. We sell products. You know what I mean? Consign us a box of books, and then every book that we sell, you know what I mean, we're gonna skim off the top and then give you the rest. He's like, all right, cool. Sent us a box of books, right? Before the box of books was done sold, he sent us another box of books. Before the box of books was sold. Now you try that with Asiatic. It ain't happening. Right? We can't get certain people to send us a box of DVDs without us paying up front for everything. Like, it's not going down like that. But European, you know what I mean? The European was like, yo, no problem. Here's a box of books. We didn't pay for the books. He gave us the books on consignment and said, as we sell them, he said, skim off the top, whatever it is that, you know what I mean, you want to take off the top, whatever's left, send that to me. I don't care when you send it, doesn't matter or whatever like that. I just want to get this information out to, the people in Canaanland, because, I respect what you guys are doing, whatever like that. Right? And he sent us another box of books before the first box of books is done. And remember, we didn't pay for the books yet. As we sell it, we stack whatever for the week, and then we send it to him. Right? European. If the European's helping me, why not you? Right? You know what Drew Ali said. He knew exactly what he was talking about. What is prescribed brief step-by-step course of action existing within contract, starting from inquiry, obtaining the work position orientation day without submitting social security number, other extremely personal background information? They're going to ask for social security number. So you're either going to stand up on the fact that, they don't have to get social security number because ABCDEFG says that you don't need social security number, right? And, at that point, they can choose to go with that or not because, we're going to them, which means that, we're in the subordinate position. If we're going to them for a job, then we don't really have the right to say, you know, do this, do that, or whatever like that, because we're going to them. And they have a right to say, you don't want to give social security number? Fine, no job. So, now, that's why we have reserve the rights, put down whatever. If you need the finance, put down whatever, you know what I mean? Sign the contract, reserve your rights, and keep it moving. You know what I mean? No different than these licenses and passports and whatever like that. I wouldn't be going anywhere if I didn't have a passport, But I ain't worried about that I have a passport and stuff like that. I have a passport. Oh my gosh. I'm violating it's not that serious. Give me the stuff, let me go travel and visit these Moors all over the place. I ain't worried about getting no karmic nothing. I reserve my rights to protect myself. Right? So, and then if that's not answered, just send another email or give me a call or whatever. This is Brother Shah Atumre L. I'm emailing you because of a constant question that is asked of me each time I attend or visit a temple here in Khalifa territory. The question that was posed to me as it relates to proclamation of nationality outside of a temple is, was there any correspondence from the corporate government concerning an acknowledgement that the straw with our title attached to it is now in our full control and some type of access to finances as well as our control? For the record, I am aware that I need no acknowledgement from any corporate entities as it relates to my birthright, and I have already put the corporate agencies on notice back here in 2014 of me and my family's nationality. This question is only asked because of the statement Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, which is that the Europeans were going to have to pay us for the time we spent in slavery. His words was used by a sheikh to qualify that some sort of statement of account is supposed to be accessible to us once we proclaim through the temple. Your temple is the only temple whose advice and wisdom I trust and relates to how temples really set up, as I have only attended a physical temple just a few times, each time with the same result as if the way I proclaimed is the right way according to the Prophet. I want nothing more but to be in unity and harmony with the temples, but certain civic-minded issues arise that gives me pause to fully give my all with the temples. And again, it comes back to that same thing that a lot of these temples, they're taking a position, the temples are taking a position that the government we're dealing with today is the same government that Noble Drew Ali was dealing with. It's not the same. We're dealing with democracy force of inquisitionists, usurpers, and colonists right now. So for them to say about statement of account and all that type of stuff, all that stuff is irrelevant because that wasn't around during the time of the Republic. During the time of, this is why you're not supposed to go authenticate birth certificate and all that type of stuff, because the birth certificate is your proof that they enslaved you. And if you go authenticate it, then you're verifying that the slavery was all right. You're saying that I'm down with the slavery because I know that this is a bond and I'm going to use my free national status to go to this notary to get them to put on this instrument, their seal, whatever like that, to verify that I'm okay with this being a bond because I want to access account or whatever like that, which you're just verifying that slavery is legal and everything's okay with slavery. Opposed to saying you have nothing to do with that. Be yourself, like Noble Drew Ali said. And again, when you go into these places and you realize that you're walking into a wall of hypocrisy with some of these grand sheiks and grand governors that are using the seat of power like it's their seat, don't get mad, don't get even. Recognize that they either work for the other side because they're 501c3, they're getting some tax benefit, or their duty is to make people think that this is just some religious whatever, right? Don't worry about them. Find somebody else that has a temple or a Moorish association, organization, or whatever like that, and help those good Moors do better work than they're doing. Because you're not going to change these people's minds. Remember that majority of the temples that are around today, if you trace their lineage back, it's more than likely going to go through individuals whose duty it has been to cause this confusion, whose duty it has been to stop the civic activity of the Moorish movement. This is an agenda. The purpose of there not being civics taught, the purpose of people thinking that you know they should go to the Moorish Science Temple of America, get a flag draped around them, say that, yeah, Islam, I'm Moorish American, I am Kudro Adwa El, and then that's it. And then they just turn around and now they can be Moors, and they don't have to do any studying, or they don't have to do anything relative to letting these people get put on notice or whatever like that. That's corruption. That's fraud. That's not how Moorish Science Temple is supposed to run. When you get draped with the flag and then you say, Islam, I am Kudro Adwa El, and they give you a nationality card, those individuals, the trustees of the Moorish Science Temple, are now supposed to go and put those people on notice that you made your claim. They're not supposed to just file that in the temple and then that's it, and then you just be a Moor only when you're in the temple. This is why they could get Moors to go pay taxes and stuff like that, because they haven't put the state on notice on behalf of the people who they work for, because that's their job to do that. That's why we wrote the writ up, and then we put the writ of judicial proclamation for the Moors in Canaanland in the newspaper, our newspaper. And then we sent the newspaper out to everybody that's in the jurisdiction of Canada that claims that they're government. We didn't do that for ourselves. We did that on behalf of the Moors in Canaanland, so that anybody who goes anywhere relative to whatever and they put down nationality card or something like that, as far as the quote-unquote governmental people, all the individual people, like bills people and, you know what I mean, car loan and whatever like that, you're responsible for that on your own. That has nothing to do with us. As far as the so-called governmental people, those are the people who we address on the people's behalf as their trustees. Right? And not only did we put it in the paper and send it out, we also took papers and we distributed the papers to everybody, had the papers there. Anybody who needs to send out stuff, judicial proclamation to whoever, don't worry about going and getting some paperwork and stuff like that. Paperwork's already done. It's in the newspaper. Just take the newspaper, how many ever copies that you need, you know, it's $1 a copy, buy how many copies that you need, and go put people on notice about your stuff. That's how it's supposed to run if it's the temple doing it. But again, these people have taken the power of the seat and vested it in themselves. They didn't regurgitate the power back to the people. They took the power, and then now they got people holding umbrellas for them and stuff like that because they're the supreme whatever and all that. When that's complete violation of the law. Like supreme violation. Because the seats of the Moorish Science Temple of America that the heads sit in, that call themselves grand or whatever, they are trustees. And they work for the people. Because this is your temple and your Moorish movement. It's not theirs. But just like the European colonists has gotten comfortable being called government, being called police, now they can shoot people and all that stuff, abuse their authority, same way that these heads in the temples abuse their authority. And they'll never tell you like this, that they're a trustee and their job is to work for the people who claim their nationality through that building called Moorish Science Temple. They'll never tell you like that. They'll make you think that you're supposed to jump through hoops. They're the ones that's supposed to be jumping through hoops on your behalf. Not you jumping through hoops because they said, and they're the Grand Sheik and they could open the door, look you up and down and what temple you belong to and why you wearing the fez and all that stuff. You should be questioning them. You say that you're a Grand Sheik or whatever, you're supposed to be a trustee. Why are you pretending like you got some supreme authority over somebody around here when you're a trustee? The members of the Moorish Science Temple of America are the beneficiaries. The heads are the trustees who are supposed to be administering the trust for the beneficiaries. So start challenging these people. But again, remember, because, they give you a COINTELPRO and stuff like that. You know what I mean? They'll be calling highwaymen on you and stuff like that. Just like when people got their ass kicked in elevators and stuff. You want to talk stuff, come into people's jurisdiction where they're teaching civics. They want to bring their religious BS in there and then want to talk down to the matriarch. Like, why are you talking down to the matriarch when the matriarch is the supreme ruler of the Moorish movement? Get whatever in the elevator, and then they want to go call highwaymen talking about somebody abused them or somebody violated their rights and you need to come do something, whatever. A highwayman's like, well, you see the size of that guy? We're not going to play with it. You're on your own with that, bro. You're not even playing with that. We're not even going to talk to that Hulk over there. You're on your own with that. No charges. Because it's out their jurisdiction. Diversity of citizenship. You ever see highwaymen? You ever see Chinaman call highwaymen? No, they call triads or whatever. You ever see Italian mafia call police? No, they call hitman. Because corporate state doesn't have jurisdiction in their affairs. You see Japanese call highwayman? No, they call Yakuza. Why they call him highwayman for? For what? What a highwayman gonna do? Call Yakuza, and the Yakuza deals with the matters. That's how it goes. And for the last question, what I'm going to do is I'm going to email this right now, this last question. I'm going to email this to Sons of Allah and have the family answer this question on the show tonight. blogtalkradio.com, MHHS Eyes Wide Open. blogtalkradio.com, MHHS Eyes Wide Open, 347-945-5899. 347-945-5899. Call in, listen to the show, and get your answer. I'm going to let them know now that I sent the email, sent a question that they need to answer on the show tonight. So Islam to all the Moors. Peace, love, and Hotep. MHHS is starting in 15 minutes. Islam to all the Moors worldwide. All the active Moors. Islam to all the new Moors coming into the movement with their eyes wide open, seeing and knowing. Islam to all the Moors that's supporting the Canaanland Moors YouTube channel. You know what I mean? Keep sharing the videos, especially the correcting and addressing the Moor haters playlists. Make sure you send all those videos out to all your friends or whatever like that, playing the black, Negro, colored, African, yeah, yelling black power loud at the top of their lungs because, you know, a European bow down to an Asiatic to suck his Johnson. make sure you send out the stuff to all those people. And you know, again, you know, we thank y'all for your support. And you know, we're gonna continue doing what we do until the body burn up or the casket drop or the world, whatever happens. And don't forget Bandcamp, Roots K, Up From The Root. Support the new EP produced by Mike Flo of Dead Prez. Alright? And Iron Cheek 6 coming soon. Very, very soon. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, to his holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, Islam, 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 Ashe. Peace and love, Moors. Don't forget to call in, yo. 347-945-5899. If you can't call in, blogtalkradio.com/MHHS-eyes wide open.